Pa-pam. Greetings, everyone. We are going to be covering the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept, a compensatory counter-racist code, a textbook or workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism and white supremacy by Neely Fuller Jr. This is the study covering the portion at the end of the text called General Compensatory Quotations for Thought, Speech, and or Action, pages 411 to 421. And just getting right into it. Another constructive selection of pages that just full of amazing quotes that that's going to be very pleasant for me to share and talk about, because just reading these, I'm sure for some of you all as well, or just get that constructive energy, that little spark of like electricity that really gets your brain computer to think in constructive ways and new ways, like how we're going to solve this problem and the importance of solving the problem. So I'm just gonna share one of my first highlighted quotes from 411, which states, "During the existence of white supremacy, do not be surprised when both white and non-white people sometimes do things that contradict what they have done before." I think this quote is brilliant, because what I've noticed is that non-white people, Black people, they can get they develop a habit of expecting, say a person does something, treats them correctly, for the majority of their interactions, they expect that dynamic to happen always. And when you expect people to like stay the same for behaviors, to stay the same for relationships or arrangements to stay the same, the moment something happens out of the ordinary, things can go array. Like I've had many falling outs with victims of racism, because my behavior or our dynamic has changed suddenly. It's because I was not viewed as a person who was ever changing, ever growing. I was viewed as a person who was stagnant, who is the same. And many people in the system of white supremacy do not grow or change or improve themselves. They a lot of them and a lot of us do stay the same. So it's really why I think this quote is important. That's why I highlighted it, because we victims should not expect much from anything or anyone as long as we are in a system of white supremacy, racism. Folks like to share some quotes, compensatory quotations, compensatory counter racist quotations.
Yeah, I'd just add on to the one that you had just spoke on about the contradictions. If you observe victims long enough, all of us may engage in some form of contradiction. Just one that may come to mind in regards to healthy eating. We may suggest, vegan eating, but you might catch us eating a cheeseburger or something like that. That's what I mean with like just observe victims long enough, you'll see contradictions. And give me a moment, and I'll get one of my quotes.
I think you're very, very well said. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate that insight. We are definitely all of us, all victims of racism, are forced to live a very contradictory existence while being dominated. I don't know if you found that. Did you find a quote? If not, I'll share one.
You can go ahead, and I'll go
Yeah.
after you.
All right. And again on 411, this is really important quote. I think it says, a quote says, Lily Fuller Jr. says, look for the effects of the white supremacist conspiracy and look for it everywhere in everything that people think, say, and do. And I think this is a really constructive suggestion, because we will find racism in everything that people associate themselves, people arrange and put together. We will find the effects of racism in everything produced on planet Earth, unfortunately, because everything is being controlled or dominated or dictated by racist men and racist women. Therefore, everything is related to that. So we must understand that and be able to look for white supremacy in everything that we come across. I'm not gonna call myself a conspiracy theorist, because white supremacy is a conspiracy, yes, but it's very real. There's no like doubt about white supremacy being real. It's in our faces 24/7. So I won't call myself a conspiracy theorist. I'm a victim of racism who fortunately has managed to become a tiny bit less confused in regards to what I'm dealing with on this planet called Earth. We could go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, the one I had was on 414. Many people, oh, this is the second one on the page too. Many people who are very smart in many things are not smart in choosing sexual mates. I think that also goes back to contradictions, because you say you want one thing in a partner, and then you ultimately end up picking a partner, that is like completely the opposite of what you said. So yeah, that definitely relates to some contradiction. And then another one towards the bottom of 414, it's like the fourth from the bottom. Sometimes saying nothing says all that needs saying. So yeah, those are two I got for right now.
Thank you. Definitely ones I did not have highlighted. So the importance of sharing. And oh, that's such a good one. The one involving sexual meets. Very, very accurate. We see so-called quote unquote successful people having failed marriages. So that's a contradiction in itself. But if you understand racism and white supremacy, we should understand how there's no such thing as success and no such thing as a marriage that involves non-white people.
I have a quote.
Go ahead.
Always expect the white supremacist to so-called scandalize and discredit a non-white person's so-called character. Expect them to try to belittle those things that the person tried to do to end white supremacy. Expect them to do this usually after the non-white person has died. And this rings true for Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Jimi Hendrix, Bob Marley. Um, yeah, can anybody else name a few others?
I wanna say the whole all of our entertainers and assassinated musicians, I should say, Tupac, who else?
That's a good one.
I would say if you black and dead, you're gonna get scandalized.
Mm. Yeah, and the first person who came to mind was Michael Jackson, but I don't know if he tried to end racism, but I think he did a lot of constructive things and can be a great subject to be looked at to understand what racism, white supremacy is, what it is, and how it works, and how damaging it could be to a confused victim like Michael Jackson, who did not know and exactly what he was dealing with. So he was sabotaged and killed, and then killed by the usual suspects, I suspect. And then after his death, he is known as to be a suspected pedophile, which I think is totally incorrect and grave insult to the so-called, the once called King of Pop, whatever that means. What? Oh, when this is from 411. When in the presence of your chosen mate, male with female, when you are not annoyed, angry, thrilled, or happy, expect to be bored most of the time. Um, I think this quote is nice because a lot of arrangements and relationships, the black people, non-white people may feel like something is off if there's no drama, or if there's like no event taking place, like you're not going to a party or a date night or doing something out of the house, then you think there's something wrong when you're in your arrangement. But I think, and again, it says when in the presence of your chosen mate, male with female, when you are not annoyed, angry, thrilled, or happy, expect to be bored most of the time. Yeah, I wouldn't say expect to be bored, but it's better than coming up with ways to produce conflict, which is very, 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 very common and popular amongst us victims of racism. But I don't think I'm bored most of the time. I think a constructive person shouldn't be bored that much. They should always find things to do with their time and energy. So I don't even know why this particular word was used, but I guess Neely Fuller has a greater understanding than I do. But I thought the quote was constructive. That's why I shared it, although I don't agree with it entirely. And there's nothing wrong with being bored either. Use that time to think, I suppose. Another one from 411. Practice being surprised at nothing. Practice not being surprised about anything that happens. Expect the so-called unexpected. As long as white supremacy racism exists, expect anything to happen that should not happen. Disappointment comes from expectation. Therefore, be careful and logical about what you expect. This is a lifesaver. Oh, my bad. This is an existence saver, mind saver, and time saver to be surprised at nothing. This is what I need to print out and have enlarged, create some sort of poster with this, because as the system of white supremacy refines itself and more behaviors are produced, newer behaviors of debauchery and vileness and total insane sickness, as more of these behaviors are introduced to society by racist men and racist women, I should already know that there was a diabolical sight that I am witnessing. I shouldn't be surprised. It's white people who have caused this. It's white people who will always produce whatever abhorrent thing that I have to witness. It's going to be white people. So I should never be surprised. I should never be caught off guard by any cruel poison or anything negative. I'm running out of bad descriptions, but anything bad that happens, I should not be surprised. But white people are going to keep churning out these things until the system is replaced. And it's only a matter of time before what we thought to be completely bizarre and correct becomes your everyday normal thing, kind of how like racist man and racist woman did with anti-sexual, counter-sexual behaviors. Once upon a time, it was really odd and incorrect. People thought to behave in such ways. Now you have males trying to be females and females trying to be males, putting on each other clothes, attaching devices to each other to feel like we have a phallus, or taking our phalluses off to feel like we have a yonic, whatever it is. Anywho, I digress a tiny bit. Would any other folks like to share?
Yes.
Yeah, I have something. During the existence of white supremacy, racism, insanity among non-white people is normal. The first step in learning how not to be ignorant is to learn that you are ignorant. These are on pages 413.
Thank you. I really, 412, people who enjoy killing people should also enjoy being killed. And this is one of the many quotes that involve suggestions that people who are killing people should be killed. And this is also a good one. And I totally agree. If we would have produced this mentality at the beginning of so-called time, I can only imagine what kind of peaceful, constructive society we would live in. But because that didn't happen, we now live in a society where like killing is fun and people strive to do it and celebrate it. And there's whole subreddits about various killers where people sit around on and chat about. So now killing is like something viewed as correct. But I wish that some sort of button that could be pressed that could eliminate just all racists and all people who thought so incorrectly. And then perhaps we can have justice then. But another one, 412. Many of the white supremacist racists are greatly skilled at doing many destructive things and doing them in such a manner as to make the destruction appear to be so-called acts of God, forces of nature, and or natural causes. Haiti, Flint, any pipeline controversy.
Katrina.
Thank you. Wow, Katrina, that was a whole like hunting ground for white people. That terrorist attack known as the Katrina disaster. So white people are I've learned the very, very hard way that we are dealing with super villains. So you think about those cartoon shows, those TV shows where like the plan just seems so bizarre, so out there, like using this device to poison hundreds of people, or using this contraption to kill hundreds of people. these are things I used to see in TV growing up. And now I know that these things are very real. White people have weapons of mass destruction. They've had them for a very long time. They have weapons of mass confusion. They've had them for a very long time. They utilize them 24/7. 24/7. You can expect there's a drone being delivered somewhere, or you could believe that people are being programmed to hate themselves, to want to go and kill Black, attack Black, and hate Black. You can expect these things to happen in 24/7. These are our weapons. These are our tools that manifest in various ways, from enormous machines possibly hid in various bases throughout the world, through simple words being broadcast through the television screen, through the radio. So white people, very, very effective, dangerous creatures. Another one, 412. There is nothing sexier than a feminine female who enjoys being an effeminate female, superbly feminine female. This does not mean being weak as a person. It means greatly strong as a feminine female person. Bam. So I should read that, because white people, white women, and their white counterparts, white men, they have totally used this feminism nonsense to make it seem like it's something other than it's not. Their feminism is racism, white supremacy. A feminine female, according to the code, is just a serious female who understands the male as a complementary self and is trying to produce a system of justice. Not that hard. But let white people's feminism tell you you'll be running around with a shaved head talking about your name is Brad and you were born Chelsea. But I digress again. Digressing a lot this evening.
I
Anywho,
have one.
go ahead, please.
An apology that you receive by asking for is worthless. And I see that a lot when, in the news, when you hear a non-white person saying, oh, I just want them to apologize. I just want them to apologize for what they did, for practicing racism. And if an apology would suffice, then racism would be over, because quite a few white people have apologized, so-called apologized for, mistreating us, or practicing racism, but yet it's still here. So obviously that's not the solution. That's not going to end racism and injustice.
Yeah. I once I kind of have some correct relationship with apologies and sorry, because I never really cared for people to say they're sorry to me, and I never really cared to say sorry, because I've always witnessed someone saying sorry and then nothing happens. No accountability, no repairing the damage, no compensation. Just, I'm sorry. Especially big corporations like BP Oil, they could spill massive amounts of oil, damaging, killing large portions of the ocean, and they say I'm sorry, and literally nothing happened. So apologies are worthless, especially if you have to ask for them. But even if you don't have to ask for them and they come with nothing, no compensation, no repair work, no, hey, I'm sorry, I'm a racist white supremacist and I'm going to produce a system of justice right now. If it doesn't come with that, then just like the words white people have gave us, many of them should be thrown away. Other folks like to share a quote?
Yes, bottom of page 413. Put your faith only in the logic that the creator of the known universe has provided for all of us to use, and use it to produce the most constructive results. I feel like people don't know their purpose. I think some people feel like their purpose is to be on vacation or thrive, or something that does not have nothing to do with being constructive. But I feel like that's a big distraction that a lot of non-white people have. They feel like they can feel comfortable under the system, but the system was designed for the racist men and women to feel comfortable. I feel like the creator put things purposely here for us to use it to be constructive so that we can be fighting this war that we're in. We're not here for just the purpose of just being here to enjoy ourselves because there's nothing to enjoy.
I have another one. 05, you want to comment on what she said or no?
Oh yeah. I was gonna let you go ahead, but since you gave me opportunity, Miss Carice, I appreciate you sharing, and yeah, I appreciate you saying that nothing was very actually. I agree. Very few things on planet Earth are to be enjoyed while being dominated, and it's very tragic and unfortunate that many of us do not have any awareness, any glimmer of awareness that we have a purpose on planet Earth. This is something that I once thought about as a wee lad, that my purpose, but white supremacy beats that out of you. And then that thought, like, why am I here? Like that why am I here question that I've asked myself growing up before. I think a lot of victims may ask themselves that growing up, but then it may it just either the brain trashing gets it out of us, or something happens. But thanks for sharing. Go ahead, Miss B.
Page 413, if non-white people having sexual intercourse with white people would help solve the race problem, there would be no race problem. Perfect example, Thomas Jefferson, Sally Hemings, and today's current tragic arrangements. Hey, racism still exists. It has an end. So obviously that's not solving the problem. Oh, another one I want to share, solving problems without making any new ones. Solving problems without making any on page 413. Yeah, that's something that I try to do. I help non-white people at work, and when I have arguments, not even arguments, more like conversations or whatever, and it seems like there's going to be a disagreement, whatever, I try to calm things down and try to figure out how to make the conversation go, smoothly without any, arguments, without it getting like heated and stuff like that. And this works with co-workers, non-white people, and attempted family members.
Thank you. I just learned about a tragic arrangement that involved a Black female having to kill her white man abuser, rapist, white supremacist master, because she allowed herself to be captured. She was in a tragic arrangement, and the arrangement was full of conflict, full of physical abuse from both parties, and she eventually killed the white man, and now she's in greater confinement. So we should not be in bed with white people. It's very, very dangerous and stupid at the same time. But I'm gonna 412. Killing a person is easy. Helping a person who needs the help the most is more difficult and far more constructive. Wow. When I read that, I was like, wow, killing is easy. White people just made all these phallic symbol machines that all you have to do is point it at someone and press a button and they die. Yeah, that's pretty easy. And now they have the same thing, but it's at a greater scale. You press a button and just a whole plot of land is destroyed. So yeah, white people have made killing very easy. But if you want to go to an area of the world and help people, get them like food, water, and constructive information, wow, that's insanely difficult in the system of white supremacy. And now we should all have a very clear understanding of why that is. Helping people in the system of white supremacy is not profitable, expected, or wanted. Especially non-white people. Who does that? So this quote is very, very epic. I really appreciate it. For okay, all right.
Oh, and it's costly. That's why they say they can't help, because it's costly. It's so costly.
Oh, right. But making these technologies that literally have the capability of destroying entire cities is not costly. We spend about $1 trillion. We have spent trillions of dollars on our military, which is code for, hey, make sure we keep these people dominated on the planet. $1 trillion for that, and no dollars for helping victims of racism. So really, really incorrect. Really tragic, and very, very annoying that we live amongst creatures who have created such a incorrect existence for all of us. 413, the so-called white lifestyle glorifies white supremacy, and the so-called black lifestyle glorifies stupidity. Yep, sounds very, very correct. Sure. And I just have to say my victim unit. I read this quote and then images of my victim unit pops in my head, like the eyelashes, the dyed hair, the hanging jewelry, the sagging clothes, the nonsense that white people have made my victim unit. It's just so tragic. So this quote really, I like it a lot because it reminds me of just the sabotage my victim group has experienced, and why solving this problem is so important, because white people have literally created black people, they have created what black people are supposed to be in 2021. A black person is supposed to be silly, stupid, and pitiful, and that's not something any correct thinking person should understand and do nothing to counter or correct. And I'll stop there to see if folks have things they want to share, add to, chime in.
One only fears what one cannot control. I cannot control white people, and I cannot control rats, and that's something I'm extremely afraid of. Another thing, be thankful that you did not pay full price for all of the stupid things that you have done. I have been, I've put myself in very risky situations, places, and I thank the creator. I have to thank the creator for surviving those experiences. Most definitely.
Yeah. The full price could be death. You never know. But the quote I have is on 415. It's between those two quotes that was just read. This might be a familiar saying, but this has a Mr. Fuller approach. If it is true that it takes a village to raise a child, the non-white people of the world have proven to be children without a village. I know most people might be familiar with the phrase "it takes a village," but again, it says, if it is true that it takes a village to raise a child, the non-white people of the world have proven to be children without a village. Page 415.
Oh wow, thank you, Ray. Pertinent. And then folks like to.
I got one. On 415, one only fears what one cannot control. I feel like, including myself, a lot of people have a lot of fears of things that they can't control. They feel like they're losing their self. I know when I can't control situations, I don't, my fear starts to kick in because I kind of have to like let things go the way it is. And I think that's why I have a big fear of change because I don't know what to expect. Everything is not orderly or organized. That's just not how life works.
Yeah, I appreciate this one being read again because it's a very interesting quote, and I think it's very very correct. I don't think the most powerful white people fear non-white people because they definitely have us under their I won't say total control because we're still allowed to come here as prisoners of war and do this, but they have us under the majority of their control. So I think it's maybe some of the less intelligent white people who may fear non-white people, black people, or it could be that the white supremacists have trained and programmed everyone to fear black people by presenting us as beastly heathens on in the entertainment industry, where I was painted as, you know, the evil dark forces, vile creatures of the night that should be feared. But other than that, I don't know. I definitely don't. I fear nothing but a torturous death. Other than that, I'm cool on fear. And also for the full price one, as a insanely stupid victim that I am, I should be dead 100 times over for all the nonsense I have participated in and survived. So a lot of them involves being around and hanging out with white people. A lot of that involves being in bed with white women. So I am, like, same to what Helen said, I am, you know, only should give thanks to the creator for my continued existence. So very interesting, very true. And I'm sure this is true for many victims of racism and white supremacy.
You're not alone, Miss Johnson, on what you expressed earlier. Okay, another quote that I'm going to share is from page 418. Every person is a part of every other person's history, and we are making history right now. Yes.
Iconic from Ash in the background. 415. White people who practice white supremacy racism have proven it. White people who do not practice white supremacy racism should prove it. That's hot right there. Straight out of the counter racist kitchen oven, I should say. This is probably a good one to use on suspected races. All right, so we can agree that some white people practice racism, but what do you do that shows that that proves you don't practice racism, white supremacy? And what do you, like, how can you prove that? Great question that can be formed from this quote. Really, really excellent quote. Well, I almost missed one. I almost missed a whole page of them actually. 414. Many of the people who have been treated as trash will also enjoy being involved in trashy behavior. And I was gonna tell a quick story of how racism white supremacy is just a powerful, awesome force that lives in us and around us 24/7. So when I was at Berkeley, me and my associates, we created within our circle the slang, and we started calling each other trash. You know, whenever someone did something stupid or someone did something silly or something to be made fun of, we would say, "Oh, you're trash, trash, you're trash." We literally call each other trash, like for fun. We did this as just like, you know, as our norm. And at the same time, I was also saying like when bad things happen, that's dark. Oh, that's so dark, man. Dang. So this quote is so evident that, you know, we're treated like trash 24/7. We're gonna start acting like trash, apparently, and I'm 100% proof of that of this quote being true. You know, but someone was calling me trash. It was funny. It used to be funny to be called trash while being treated like trash 24/7. So the sanity we live in, the incorrectness we live in, will produce stories like mine, stories like yours. I am certain of it. Bum, bum. 414 from the attempted counter racist soldier Neely Fuller Jr. Any person who willfully, deliberately, and unjustly kills another person and who does not immediately kill himself or herself should be shunned forever by all others. I'm like, yeah, we need to get back into exiling people. You know, you are insane, poisonous, mind-filled creature. You can't be amongst us people who are trying to practice justice. You gotta go to an island somewhere, Robinson Crusoe yourself somewhere. Because yeah, we want to be a planet of people who want to practice justice, who want to make sure no one and nothing is being mistreated. So we can't have people on our planet trying to kill each other and make games of killing. We've had so much of this, too much of this for eons now, and it would be a nice trend to see people who are as against killing as they are maybe against Black males who have different opinions on what is correct arrangements and what is incorrect arrangements. But no, it's just I digress a tiny bit again. Yep. During, and this is unfortunate. This is all for all the victims of racism, females. This is for all y'all. During the existence of white supremacy racism, non-white males mating with non-white females is burdensome and mostly disappointing, but should be promoted nonetheless. And, you know, it's our error. The system is still in place, but we the best y'all got. So you gotta compensate for our incorrect situation, and let's work together to solve the problem. And no more gender wars that white people have created for us. You know, we gotta participate in that. You know, you're not what you should be, non-white female, and I'm most certainly not what I should be. So let's just be as least monstrous as possible and work to solve the problem.
Agreed.
Thank you.
The one thing that white supremacists do with great and confusing skill is to celebrate and praise non-white people while at the same time systematically oppressing and killing them. So-called liberals, so-called Democrats, white people who so-called are allies, and the ones who so-called protest with Black Lives Matter, white people. Yeah.
I have to add the so-called LGBTQ. That organization is so dangerous, not only because it puts confused victims in proximity to white people, but it puts victims of racism in proximity to white people who want to aggress on those victims sexually, and the worst kind of sex imaginable, countersexual sex. So you're correct. The LG, that group is such a tyrannical, powerful group. Something us victims are not understanding at all what this group means and how powerful it is. But yeah, very dangerous organization as like the ones that Miss B mentioned. But I just have to point the huge black male finger at that LG group, having taking all these non-white victims under their wing and just further confusing them and victimizing them. Shit, it's a act of terror as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, I actually have a quote that might be related to that. It's on 415. It says, in sexual matters, most people in some circumstances will do things that they told themselves they would never do.
Mm.
And yeah, that might be related to what you stated. And then one other quote I had was all the way on 421. It is the second from the top. Stop pretending that you want to produce justice, balance between people, when what you really want is a satisfying sexual mate. And that quote reminded me of the story that Mr. Fuller told about how he's at a black meeting and there was him and like two other guys around. And the one guy was like, I'm gonna get me one of these women and get him up into my room. And then the other guy was like, that's the only guy that know what he's here for.
Excellent. I've definitely heard that story, and very, very interesting. Thanks for sharing. 415. If it is true that it takes a village to raise a child, the non-white people of the world have proven to be children without a village. That's deep. That's deep right there. Very tragic to have our circumstances painted so clearly for us, because it's really sad. I'm a child. I don't have a home. I have anyone to protect me or protect people like me. We're just out here fending for ourselves amongst savages who literally want to rape, kill, and eat us. Oh, it's messed up. But it's a planet we came to. It's a problem we have decided in the pre-existence to solve. So here we are. Let's solve it. But still a tragic quote. I'm just gonna read it again because to me, I feel a surge of weight when I read this, and because it hits home. If it is true that it takes a village to raise a child, the non-white people of the world have proven to be children without a village. And don't forget who destroyed the village. Who took us from the village? It was white people. Racist man, racist woman, and racist child collectively. And I'm gonna end there to see if folks have.
Page 416. The bottom, instead of trying to look young, try to be healthy. I feel like in this new age era we're in, there's a lot of people trying to change their bodies, change how they look. All these surgeries, going out of state for all these surgeries, instead of just trying to be healthy, eat healthy, and get physical activity for themselves, for their mind, for their mental. And a lot of non-white women are dying behind surgeries of their body and leaving these non-white children to fend for themselves. So take care of your body, not only from the inside, but the inside is more important as much as the outside, well, basically.
To add on to what Ms. Johnson said, there was a non-white black female who got an butt injections, and she wound up losing her legs and arms because the injection was contaminated, was toxic or something, had poison in it. It didn't have what it's supposed to have in it. And Yeah, so she's definitely right. She's she's on point with that one. I'm gonna go to page 420. Much of what people report as history is deliberately or by mistake not true. And I don't know about the by mistake part, but because white people in Texas, they put in the history books that instead of putting slaves, they put that we were indentured servants or something like that. Like they tried to like cushion it, cushion the term slave. And yeah, that was, I don't know if that sounds deliberate to me, but yeah, so I don't know about the mistake part. That's it for now.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson, Ms. B. Yeah, vanity is deadly. And like here's the real kicker. Here's the real inside scoop. If victims truly understood racism and white supremacy, we will always be so-called young because we will always be children under the system. So we can never look older our age out or whatever, because the system forces us to be young forever, to be forever young. So we should just our attempt of what we want to do with our body should just be healthy. You just want to be as healthy as possible, because looks don't matter. You're gonna look young forever. You're gonna look desirable forever, despite what racism and white supremacy has presented to you. The most desirable creatures on the planet are non-white people, especially Black people. So you don't have to work. You don't have to add extra cosmetics, extra anything to your existence, to your body's existence. The creator and your attempted parents gave you everything you need. You don't want to be like the victim Helen B just mentioned, losing 4 limbs for vanity, because the vanity is one of the infinite symptoms of mental sickness that white supremacy creates and perpetuates. Because best believe it wants every non-white child running around here thinking they need some kind of plastic surgery, when don't forget, it's white people who are the ones who started the trends of getting plastic surgeries to look like non-white people, to look like Black females, to be more precise. So understand what we're dealing with. Understand that we are the original victims, are the original. Don't take pride in it. Don't be proud of it, but just understand. I think this is a great segue into what I just mentioned as well. This quote from 416 in the states. Neither Fuller states, since no person has done what is necessary to protect non-white females from the destructive effects of the system of white supremacy racism, no person in the known universe is correctly qualified to show contempt for non-white females because of their pitiful, primitive, stupid, silly, obscene, obnoxious, and or lewd behavior. So this quote right here is just one I have to remember wholeheartedly. I have to plug it in my brain computer, and it needs its own little section in my brain computer, because I've been trained really well. I've been trained just like many victims to attack Black. I've been trained to be a beast, a monster, to say the least. So I would get, just when I see non-white victims doing silly things like fake eyelashes and all these crazy colored hair extensions and weaves, it's just like I just kind of get a little angry at what I'm seeing. But I have to remember this quote. It's not their fault, if victim males like myself in the past were able to disrupt the things white supremacists were doing, then we wouldn't have any Cardi B's or Meg Thee Stallions to deal with, to be amongst of, while we are also in the system. So it's not the non-white female's fault. They've been conditioned and trained, just like it's not the Black male's fault. He's been conditioned and trained to wear saggy pants and go around shooting other Black people. So I gotta stop the animosity I have towards ghetto glorification, because my victim, if I see my victim unit, maybe I will understand, but I'm just gonna end it there. Oh, I don't have any on 417. Oh, I'm just gonna read the last one for 417, just to read something from this page, because every page has excellent quotes, black excellent quotes. 417. Avoid thinking that the white supremacists do not know what you know. Bam. I don't think our minds are safe anymore, because I've been thinking about stuff and I'll be getting asked for it. I'm like, but I don't know. I hope I'm incorrect. I hope white supremacists have not developed technologies that can access our thoughts, our minds, because it would be really, really hard to counter the system if they have this technology already. I'm sure they're working on it, because white supremacists don't take no days off. They're always working on improving their Yurugu technology. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're working on it. I just don't want them to come up with it anytime soon. 418. The less you know about a person's so-called sex life, the less you know about the person. And if someone had read this quote to me when I was more confused, I would have been like, I don't need to know about what a person is doing in the bedroom to know about that person. What do you mean? But when you understand the system of white supremacy, you understand that white men, white women, a lot of them are into sex with victims of racism, which is very incorrect. A lot of them are into sex with children. A lot of them are into sex with children, and a lot of victims have been trained to display the same behaviors as those white people. So understanding what a person does in the bedroom can, of course, give a lot of insight to what kind of person that is. If you're a person who likes having sex with vulnerable people, or having sex with confused people who think that the sex is correct when it's not, then yeah, you can learn a lot about a person like that. And which is why a white person who engages in the bedroom with a non-white person is so dangerous and so deceitful, and it's practicing racism to a great degree. Yeah, but my phone listening to.
I want to go to page 420. Be suspicious of any so-called death by accident that directly or indirectly involves matters of race, racism, and or counter racism. Think of the white supremacist, racist man, and racist woman as being the usual suspects in anything happening that should not happen, and in judging whom to blame the most. I wonder what happened to the young lady to the non-white black female that was shot in the UK. She was a part of the BLM movement. I wonder what happened to her.
I wonder what happened to Dr. Amos N. Wilson and Dr. Bobby E. Wright, because they died very young and very suspiciously. So I think this quote is 100% accurate. The usual suspects have their deadly hands and everything.
Oh, and Dr. Sebi. I wonder what happened to him. Like, how did he really?
Yeah, Dr. Sebi was his sabotage was very much documented. I believe white supremacists placed him in some sort of a Honduras prison, and then he died due to not having the correct nutrients. So it just really the system will kill the as many of us as possible to keep it going. Unfortunately, the great black people and not so great black people, we are all equal victims. We're subjected to a demise at any moment. So
True.
no such thing as a natural Black Death.
Oh, that kind of works with this quote on 418. Try to get the best out of this moment. The next one is not guaranteed to you.
Mm. Yep. Nothing in the system is guaranteed besides being mistreated by it. 419. A male wanting to be a female or a female wanting to be a male is not a correct condition of the mind. Neely Fuller Jr., 1984. The code book bar. I don't have to add anything to that. That was one sentence of a much needed dosage of truth injected into this hellscape we call society.
I got one for page 419. The ignorance that we spread one to another is one of the worst of poisons. I feel like we were quick to spread false news and false narratives, especially white people. They love lying. So it's kind of, we're all non-white people are getting spoon fed. So it's very poisonous to our brains.
Big. Yeah, I also have that one highlighted, and it's also the nonsense that we spread. Hey, I learned a new dance move. I'm gonna go teach you this dance move, and next thing you know, 1,000 Black people are doing this dance move. There's the thing called jerking back in the day that was quite popular, and the song called "You're a Jerk," and it's just like a dance that Black people took home and ran with, and it's like a good example of how we just take these silly trends and just now we're all doing it. The ice bucket challenge, the mannequin challenge, any challenge we will.
Oh, don't forget the busted challenge.
Yep. So so any challenge we will take besides the reading challenge and the countering racism challenge, but everything else is on the table for us. Just as long as it doesn't require any serious thinking or reading. It's such a sophisticated way that we have been sabotaged and trained at the same time. It's just yeah, I don't think I read that one again because it's so it's true. And this gossip, the gossip spreading, the celebrity entertainment, the tabloid spreading of that stuff, just the ignorance that we spread one to another is one of the worst poisons. One of the worst, from the same page, 419. In a situation of fewer and fewer sexual restrictions, it will be the non-white females who will be displeased the most. I'm like, it makes sense to me because the Black males are being like, there's very few Black males to begin with because of our high rates of being captured and being placed in greater confinement, our high rates of being killed, and our high rates of being transformed into a male who no longer is attracted to females, but actually hates them and wants to be one of them in the same way. So it's real incorrect. So it makes a lot of sense. As white supremacists convince us to head towards the anuses of the world, whether it's an anus of a person or an animal, it will be the females, the correct thinking females, the most who are able to see what's happening, and they won't be too happy about that. I wouldn't be either. I'm not happy about all the non-white females we are losing to the many insanities, the many forms of insanity that we have been given. trained to partake in.
I have a perfect one to follow that on page 418. Um, so-called romance rituals that involve non-white people are at best pitiful, tacky, grotesque, and or childlessly silly. Yeah, like Valentine's Day and Christmas, and wasting all the money on like roses and candy and jewelry and just showing off and all that other stuff. It's like that money could be, better spent on, on eating healthy, on buying food that's healthy for our bodies, and just doing something more constructive than that.
Yeah, so happy I got all of those rituals and that just very very incorrect habits that we have been trained in, and those days, those holidays that you mentioned, those horror days that you mentioned, also create so much can create so much conflict amongst victims of racism. Oh, you didn't get me a flashy enough trinket, or you didn't take me to a flashy enough environment to show off what I want to show off. So yeah, we need to totally end all of that stuff. We need to end everything that even looks like that. But it's a very 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 tall order for victims of racism.
Oh,
Go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna add to that one quote that was previously read about the non-white females who will be displeased the most. The thing I would add to that is there is no such thing as a high value black man in a system of racism, white supremacy.
Hello.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's not even, that's also like not, that's not the code. That's just you sharing that, right?
That's a certain black male individual. His thing is a high value black man.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. And
Don't overtalk me.
Yeah, I even hate hearing the term black man, black woman, because even before I was more confused, I rarely use those terms like black man, black woman, because especially not black man, I rarely use these terms because I thought something was off about how we was going about on planet Earth. But now it makes sense. We should not even like there should be some sort of gag reflex when I attempt to call a victim of racism a black a man or a woman. I should produce some sort of gag reflex because my body is unable to say such untrue nonsense, to spew lies like that. Because when we call up any victim of racism a man or a woman, we are lying to them and to ourselves. So we should end that and all of that. And all of that. I am what the race will just call me, a black male. Yeah, I jumped on. 420. During the existence of white supremacy racism, no person has avoided giving service to it. Many do so with sorrow, many do so with ignorance, many do so with pride. All should have meant that they continue to do so. Yep. I do so with great misery and annoyance and sorrow. Yeah, I think it's the worst to do it with ignorance. I just think I just would like to see if a majority of non-white people had the awareness that they were being dominated by the system of white supremacy. I wonder what that will look like. I wonder, would we see more conversations taking place, trying to attempting to solve the problem? Will we see more constructive reports on racism? I would hope so, but we're not even at the first step at understanding or having the awareness that we are being dominated. Because I was dominated for about 28 years before I finally clicked that hey, I'm actually being dominated. This is not just being called a nigger, haha, nigger. This is way deeper than that. This is like a whole system. This is like a whole religion, a whole setup designed to make sure that I am a nigger forever. And I'm like, I don't know if that deep. I know it's so sophisticated, and I think this is the case for many victims. They think racism is something that is not, and we need to understand that white supremacy racism is a really real global system. The 420 again, the study of true history is basically the study of things that people have done that they should not have done, and the study of things that people have done that they should not have done. It is correct to learn those lessons. Agreed. History used to be my favorite subject. Now I understand why. Folks like to share before I read the rest of the quotes I have.
Page 417. Avoid thinking that the white supremacists do not know what you know. I went on a tour, and it was interesting. The guide was a white lady, a white woman, and it was quite a few non-white people. And the non-white people kept trying to, and I see this often, that we're always trying to tell them like, oh, what we think they don't know. Oh, we're going to educate them. Mind you, she's the guide. And we're always trying to interject this information and like, I'm gonna tell you this, I'm gonna tell you that. See what I know, see what I know. And I'm like, what makes you think that she doesn't know? What makes you think that white people don't know this? Just because they say that they're ignorant or that they play confused? No. And that's why my favorite quote, the favorite thing I like to say, white people are not ignorant. I say that everywhere, every day, all the time, everywhere. Yeah. Anybody want to add to that?
Yeah, that's great additions, because I read this one earlier, and yeah, I think is our best approach is to just pretend to be very confused when engaging with white people, and just stay in the question lane. And if you're going to make any statements, it's something along the lines of what you just said, Ms. B, is that white people are not ignorant, and they have done an amazing job at presenting themselves to be like ignorant about many things, but they are not. They are really well versed in racism, white supremacy, and a majority of them practice it efficiently because it's around us 24/7 operating.
I have another one on page 416. The strongest and smartest person in the known universe will at some time become the weakest and the most confused person in the known universe. At one time, I thought that Suge Knight and Mike Tyson, I thought they were the greatest. And what, Suge Knight is now in greater confinement, and Mike Tyson is, he's still with us, but yeah, I'm just, yeah, now I know that that's so not true. I don't think, he's the strongest anymore. I mean, he's an excellent boxer, but not the strongest.
Yeah, yeah, I would say it's hard to, far from the very correct quote that we should understand that I'm in the belief that if he puts enough nutrients in our bodies and take care of our body as well as we should, we'll be able to live quite a while, exist quite a while before we die. I don't think every person who dies of old age needs to die senile and insanely weak. So I understand the quote, but that's my 2 cents, my worthless 2 cents. Yeah. 421. The system of white supremacy racism makes sewage and sewers of non-white people. Even more evident if we remember area 8 and what white people do to non-white people in the bedroom, you know, defecating on victims, urinating on victims is very common in their behavior. So this quote kind of just pops out at you if you understand um, white people's behaviors in regards to area 8. Again, the system of white supremacy racism makes sewage and sewers of non-white people. Not only does it make just he's saying that what we consist of, what's inside of is crap, is incorrectness. And I agree. We have been embedded with these with the sewage, this waste that comes from being traumatized, victimized, dominated by the system of white supremacy. 421 again. Never seek to like yourself the way that you are. Always seek to improve your thoughts, your speech, and your actions. Seek to make them more constructive. What a black excellent goal for all victims to have, you know, to always be improving. And I feel like this quote gives me insight to why I've always have been annoyed to people looking at me or seeing or talking to me like I haven't changed or grown, because I've always attempted to make a effort to always be changing, to be learning or be growing or be just doing something different, to say the least. So when people would treat me like I'm like still the same person from back in the day, I would get really confused and angry. And now I understand. I have so much more understanding of those dynamics and experiences. Any folks like to share before I read my final quotation I'm going to be sharing today?
Page 417. Try to learn something that is worth knowing from everyone with whom you interact. Um, that's why I kind of adore seniors. But I do. I try to ask questions to everybody. I try to learn from everyone. I like to hear and get different perspectives from everybody. And yeah, and I think that's how you grow. That's how you learn, by asking questions and listening. Um, yeah.
Well said. I'm like that. I actually had a great disdain for people growing up who had their grandparents who had access to elders, because I didn't grow up with a grandparent or any old people I could just talk to and ask questions, because I always been a somewhat creative person. I always wanted to like hear stories from other people, just hear about their lives. So I would meet people who had grandparents and they would like just not treat them correctly, and I would just be really angry. I was more angry at the fact that I didn't have grandparents than the fact that I didn't have I was angry at the fact that I didn't have grandparents. I was never slighted or upset that I didn't have a so-called father. So it's very important to have elders in your existence that you can talk to, learn from their experiences, because any person who has experiences to share can definitely teach you something. And so yeah, understand that elders are so important, should be seen as some sort of living existing jewel. 421. Truth be told, some white people want non-white people. Some non-white people want to be white. Some females want to be males. Some males want to be females. None of these wants serve any constructive purpose. I think I had messed up reading this and read it again. Truth be told, some white people want to be non-white. Some non-white people want to be white. Some females want to be males, some males want to be females. None of these wants serve any constructive purpose. Oh, I read it correctly. So very, very correct quote. It's not correct to want to be anything other than a individual practicing justice, um, universal man or universal woman. Everything everything in between that or before that is just pitiful as far as I'm concerned. Um,
Page 417. To do physical work that is constructive is healthy for both the mind and the body. Do not seek to avoid it. Embrace it. Exercise, people. Work out. Very important.
Thank you. Anyone else like to share? Comments, quotes? I remember seeing one that was it was like if you understand it was like a continuation of like or something that could go with the if you don't understand racism white supremacy, what it is or how it works, everything you know it was like a something related to that one. And it was one of the ones I wanted to I guess I didn't highlight it, but I can't find it anymore. But, but yeah, I don't think I'll be able to find it. So I'll try to find it for next week. Oh yeah, okay. We gotta get the closing comment because I feel like.
Oh wait a minute! I think I found it.
Uh,
If you understand white supremacy, racism, what it is and how it works, you also understand that it is connected to everything that people do and don't do. That one?
yes, X and Black Slave. What page is that one on, Miss Helen?
That's page 413.
Oh, that one is an early one. All right. Yeah, I love that quote is Black excellent. You know, I think it checks out. I totally under like what people do and don't do. Of course, it's related to racism, white supremacy because everything in the universe is related to racism and white supremacy. Everything in the known universe, at least. So this quote is very important. This should also be plastered everywhere.
Yes.
For real. So yeah, my closing comment will just be that. I'm just gonna read this quote again for my closing comment. If you do not understand white supremacy racism, what it is and how it works, you also understand that it is connected to everything that people do and don't do. Nearly Fuller Jr.
Let's give
United
a few examples of that.
Oh, okay. Well, if a I'll just give an example. I want to give a example from real life. All the like sit downs I've had with white professors who have failed to tell me about race and white supremacy. I think that is and that's one. They told me about socialism. They told me about a meritocracy. They told me that working oneself up from the bootstraps is what we should be doing. But not once was I told about racism and white supremacy in any so-called educational institution. And so yeah, white people they don't use talk about race and white supremacy at all to victims in a constructive way. From my experience, I may be wrong. They may have some circles out there that do. I haven't been invited. Victims can experience mistreatment and talk about the experience without using the word racism or anti-blackness or anything. So yeah, and also a perhaps a a more refined, any white person, white people are able to see racism perhaps more clearly than non-white people. So a white person may see like a victim being mistreated, say in a line in a grocery store or somewhere, and that white person won't do anything about it, even and because that's their how they show camaraderie. They don't call out other races. If other folks want to chime in on some examples, be my guest.
I think if you have a poor education, then you you're okay. So you have a poor education, you're gonna commit crimes because you won't be able to find a job. So you're gonna commit crimes to get money. Then you'll be thrown in jail. That's law. That's labor. Um, and let me see. Or you might be looking for so-called the solution to the problem by going to religion, trying to go to church and this, that, and the other. You'll get further confused there. Some will try to become politicians. That's where politics come in. They think they're going to solve the problem in that one area, but you're forgetting the other areas, or you're neglecting the other areas, like law, labor, economics. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And also, did some call it code switching? I don't know why it's called that, but I think that's a good way of just pretending, changing our thoughts, speech, and behavior when we're around certain victims of racism or white people. That is a clear indication that we are in some sort of system. If we feel like when white people come around, we have to change the way we look, think, or speak. So I think that's the racism hidden in plain sight. Good example. Bum, bum, bum. If folks no longer have any quotes to share, we could get into closing comments. I've already shared mine. Folks would like to take over, be my guest. Closing comments.
Excellent business meeting. I look forward to the rest of the quotes.
Thank you. As do I. Mr. Dan, Mr.
Page 418, try to get the best out of this moment. The next one is not guaranteed to you. That's my closing comment.
Thank you.
My closing comment is these are quotes that we need to follow, share, and put us to always stay on code or to know our purpose.
Thank you. Mr. Edwards, would you like to share a closing before we head out?
I'd just like to thank everyone for a constructive conversation.
Thank you, sir. These quotes are really black slant, and just kind of incredible how there's like probably over 100 in here that yeah, really, as Helen said, very excited to finish up the quotations, continue reading them, because I was not expecting this section to be so worthwhile, but it is.